He is watching the spy think. Not through a camera lens and not through the scope of a sniper rifle. He is watching him through the rhythm of a teletype printer in a dark basement in California. Clack, pause, clack, thousands of miles away. In the gray concrete jungle of West Germany, a shadow is typing commands. He thinks he is invisible. He thinks he is a ghost moving through the wires of the American military defense network. He believes he is stealing secrets that could tip the balance of the Cold War. But he made one mistake. He didn't trip a laser alarm. He didn't silence a guard. He simply forgot to pay for 75 cents worth of computer time. That is the absurdity of this story. The greatest cyber espionage manhunt of the 20th century did not begin with an explosion or a dead body. It began with a hippie astronomer, a bored afternoon, and a tiny, irritating accounting error that just wouldn't go away. Who leaves a 75-cent trail while stealing nuclear secrets? And how did a rounding error almost start World War III? To understand the absurdity of this chase, you have to rewind to August 1986. The Cold War is freezing over. Tensions between Washington and Moscow are brittle enough to snap. In the shadows, the CIA and the KGB are playing a high-stakes chess game involving defectors, dead drops, and poison umbrellas. But in Berkeley, California, Clifford Stoll cares about none of that. Stoll is not your typical line of defense against the Red Menace. He is an astronomer by trade, a man used to looking up at the vast silence of the universe, not down into the noisy guts of a mainframe computer. He wears ragged jeans and tennis shoes, rides a bicycle, and looks more like a frantic hippie than a federal agent. He had been moved from the telescope to the computer center at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, a place that served as a digital nervous system for the American scientific community. His job was mundane: keep the computers running, manage the accounts, ensure the scientists could crunch their data. It was supposed to be boring. Then came the discrepancy. The lab's mainframe computer charged different departments for processing time. It was a simple accounting script. But when Stoll ran the monthly audit, the numbers didn't balance. The computer's operating system said people had used a specific amount of time. The billing software said they had used slightly less. The difference was 75 cents. In a multi-million-dollar laboratory, 75 cents is nothing. It is less than a rounding error. Any rational bureaucrat would have simply deleted the error, balanced the books, and gone home to dinner. But Clifford Stoll was not a bureaucrat. And to a scientist, a discrepancy in data is an itch that demands to be scratched. It means the model is wrong. It means the universe isn't behaving the way it should. Stoll began to dig. He dove into the lines of code, tracing the ghost money. He expected to find a bug in the software. Instead, he found a user. Someone had logged into the system under the name of a professor who was currently out of the country. This user had used exactly 75 cents worth of computer time without a valid billing account. Stoll watched the logs. He realized this wasn't just a squatter stealing free computer time to play games. This user had exploited a vulnerability in the text editor of all things to grant themselves super user status. They had become God inside the machine. They were a cuckoo bird. In nature, a cuckoo lays its egg in another bird's nest, tricking the host into raising its young. This hacker had laid a program deep inside the Berkeley system, a digital egg that hatched and gave him total control. Stoll realized with a cold shiver that the 75 cents wasn't an error. It was a footprint. Someone was walking through the halls of America's research database, opening doors and reading files. And they had absolutely no idea that a hippie astronomer was staring right at their muddy tracks. Stoll decides to watch. He sets up a trap that is primitive, almost comical, yet brilliant. Every time the hacker types a keystroke in Germany, a printer physically hammers that letter onto paper in California. For months, Clifford Stoll lives in the computer lab. He sleeps under his desk. He showers in the locker room. He waits for the printer to wake him up. Clack, clack, clack. The ghost is back. Stoll watches in real time as the intruder uses Berkeley not as a target, but as a door. The hacker isn't interested in university physics data. He is using the lab's connections to pivot into the ARPANET, grandfather of the modern internet, and from there, into the Milnet. The printer spits out the targets. White Sands Missile Range, the Anniston Army Depot, the dockyards of the U.S. Navy. The hacker is systematically knocking on the doors of every military base in America, looking for the word nuclear, stealth, or strategic. Stoll calls the FBI. They ask about the monetary damage. He tells them 75 cents. They hang up. He calls the CIA. They tell him it's an FBI matter. The NSA listens politely, takes notes, and promises nothing. He realizes he is alone. If he wants to catch this spy, he has to do it himself. The problem is time. To trace the call, Stoll needs the hacker to stay on the line for at least an hour. The phone connection has to be manually traced by technicians, jumping from switchboard to switchboard. Oakland to Chicago, Chicago to New York, New York to a transatlantic cable, and finally, into the heart of Europe. But the hacker is fast. He strikes for 5 minutes, steals a file, and vanishes. Stoll tries to slow him down. When the hacker is active, Stoll literally jiggles the keys on the mainframe, physically slowing the computer's processing speed, hoping the frustration will keep the hacker online longer. It doesn't work. He needs bait. He needs something so juicy, so irresistible, that the spy will forget to be careful. Stoll invents a lie. He creates a fake government project on the Berkeley system. He calls it SDINET, the Strategic Defense Initiative Network, the Star Wars program. He fills this fake folder with impressive-sounding bureaucratic gibberish, memos about space lasers, and contracts for high-ranking officers. It is a digital Potemkin village. It looks real, it smells confidential, but it is completely hollow. Then, he waits. It is a Friday afternoon. The printer starts to chatter. The hacker has found SDINET. Stoll watches the commands appear on the paper. You can almost feel the hacker's excitement across the ocean. He is reading the fake memos. He is downloading the fake payrolls. He thinks he has hit the motherlode of American secrets. Stoll grabs the telephone. He screams at the operator to start the trace. Keep him on. Keep him on. The trace begins. The signal is followed out of California. It hits the East Coast. It dives under the Atlantic Ocean. It resurfaces in West Germany. The German Bundespost technicians pick up the trail. They narrow it down to the city of Bremen, then to a neighborhood, then to a university campus. But the hacker logs off. The trace dies just blocks away from the source. They are close, but they don't have a name. The hacker is cautious. He might suspect something. Stoll has one card left to play. He places a file in the fake SDINET folder saying that all physical documents for the Star Wars project can be mailed to a specific address if requested. It is a suicide move. If the hacker is a professional, he will smell the trap. If he asks for the documents, he has to provide a physical address. Silence returns to the lab. The printers are quiet. Days turn into weeks. Stoll wonders if he scared the ghost away. It is postmarked from Pittsburgh. But the return address is foreign. It is a request for the SDINET documents. The spy didn't just bite the hook, he swallowed it whole. But the address isn't a safe house in Moscow. It belongs to a young German man named Marcus Hess. The ghost has a name. The 75-cent error has just led the FBI to the front door of a Soviet asset. The raid does not happen like in the movies. There are no helicopters, no explosions, just a team of German federal police in plain clothes, moving quietly up the stairs of a gray apartment building in Hanover. Inside, amidst a tangle of cables, overflowing ashtrays, and empty soda bottles, sits Marcus Hess. He is stunned. But the most damning evidence isn't a gun or a stack of cash. It is the glowing green monitor in front of him. He is logged in. At the exact moment the handcuffs click around his wrists, the connection to Berkeley, California, is severed. Across the world, Clifford Stoll watches his printer go silent. The ghost has been exorcised, but as the investigation unspools, the terrifying super spy narrative begins to crumble, replaced by something far more pathetic and human. Marcus Hess wasn't a high-ranking Soviet officer trained in the Red Room. He was a 20-something computer whiz, drifting through the chaotic underground of the German hacker scene. He wasn't working alone. He was part of a loose collective of digital misfits who had realized that information was a commodity. They weren't driven by ideology. They didn't hack the Pentagon because they loved communism or hated America. They did it for the money. And not even a lot of money. The investigation revealed that Hess and his conspirators were selling these nuclear secrets to the KGB for roughly the price of a used car. They would meet KGB handlers in East Berlin, handing over stacks of computer printouts lists of passwords, military schematics, semiconductor designs. In return, they received envelopes of cash. And where did that money go? It went up their noses. Much of the funding for this high-level cyber warfare was burned on cocaine, parties, and hashish. The security of the Western world had been compromised to fund a drug habit. The trial began in 1990. It was a spectacle. For the first time, a court had to grapple with the concept of digital trespassing. The judges were confused. The laws were outdated. How do you punish someone for stealing something that is still there? When Hess stole a file, the original remained on the computer. Was it theft? Or was it just aggressive reading? Clifford Stoll flew to Germany to testify. He stood in the courtroom, the hippie astronomer facing the man who had haunted his life for a year. He explained how a 75-cent error exposed a breach that reached into the heart of the American military-industrial complex. The defense argued that Hess was a peace activist, exposing security flaws to make the world safer. They claimed he was a pawn. But the verdict, when it finally came, felt like a punchline to a bad joke. Because the laws for cyber espionage simply didn't exist yet, and because the Cold War was rapidly thawing, the court was lenient. Marcus Hess was found guilty of espionage. His sentence? A suspended prison term of 20 months. He walked free. He didn't spend a single day behind bars for hacking the US military. The 75-cent mystery ended not with a bang, but with a gavel strike that sounded more like a shrug. However, the story didn't end well for everyone. While Hess walked away, one of his co-conspirators, a troubled young hacker named Karl Koch, was found in a forest, burned to death. The official ruling was suicide. But in the world of shadows and spies, nothing is ever quite that simple. In the end, Clifford Stoll didn't just catch a hacker. He caught the future. Before this case, the internet was a small, trusting village. It was a place for scientists to share data and for academics to send polite emails. People left their digital doors unlocked because they believed only friends lived in the neighborhood. Marcus Hess proved that the village had been invaded by wolves. The cuckoo's egg case was the moment the world woke up to the reality of cyber warfare. It wasn't science fiction anymore. It was messy, it was cheap, and it was happening in real time. Stoll wrote a book about his experience. It became a bestseller, a Bible for a new generation of security experts. But the warning he sounded in 1989 is more terrifying today than it was back then. Think about it. In the 80 seconds, a hacker needed a physical terminal, a phone line, and endless patience to steal a few text files. Today, the entire world is the laboratory. Our banks, our hospitals, our power grids, and our pockets are all connected to the same invisible web that Hess exploited. The 75-cent error was a fluke. It was a 1 in a million chance that an obsessive astronomer happened to be looking at the right number at the right time. But today, there are millions of errors, millions of open doors, and there aren't enough Clifford Stolls to watch them all. The spy is no longer just a shadow in Germany. He is an algorithm. He is a botnet. He is everywhere. And next time, the warning sign won't be a missing 75 cents. It will be silence. So, the next time your computer slows down for a second, or your balance looks slightly off, ask yourself, is it just a glitch? Or is someone, somewhere, testing the handle of your door?